Hi there, welcome to Topics World. And this is a video about the 10 authors who will scare you into writing. Author quotes and advice for writers by people who've published before.
Welcome back to The Late Show. I am here with the author of the new novel, Billy Summers, Mr. Stephen King. At one point,
The King of Horror, Stephen King. It is undeniably true. The master of screams has written more than 60 books, including Cujo, It, Misery, and Pet Sematary, since he released his debut book, Carrie, in 1974. He has established himself as one of the greatest writers in history. What more could a horror fan want than nasty clowns, vicious dogs, and horrible zombie kids? As a tremendous admirer, I would love for him to live another 30 years, which is possible, but we all know he's 75 years old and that life is finite. Or could he? Who could then surpass this gifted wordsmith and continue to bring us dark circles? 10 incredible authors who have revolutionized the field of horror literature have been compiled by me. Who will assume control and occupy the seat of terror? Number 10, Stephen Graham Jones. This first author could be right for you if you enjoy being afraid and having your boundaries challenged. Night of the Mannequins, The Only Good Indians, Attack of the 50-Foot Indian, and My Heart is a Chainsaw are just a few of Stephen Graham Jones' masterpieces. His titles certainly pique your interest. Aspiring writers are astounded by his authorial style, and fans are clamoring for more horrors. He was born in Texas and is a Blackfoot Native American. He has authored 22 novels, all before the age of 50, and is incredibly productive. The Babysitter Lives, his upcoming novel, is currently available for purchase. Look him up. You don't trust me? See what the maestro himself had to say about Jones's most recent book. I really like The Babysitter Lives. As with many truly spooky tales, and this one is truly spooky, it works beautifully as audio. Perfect for a long car trip, especially when you're running low on petrol, and you start to worry that maybe someone has gotten into the backseat and may suddenly lurch into the rearview mirror. Number 9, Joe Hill. Second-generation writers are common in literature. Examples are A Chip Off the Old Block and The Apple Doesn't Fall Too Far from the Tree. The fact that his father is the legend himself suggests that our upcoming contender for the title of King of Horror may have already inherited it. Joe Hillstrom King, writing as Hill, didn't want to follow in his father's footsteps, so he chose to use a pen name. And he managed to escape that King's notice for 10 years. The second child of Stephen and Tabitha King is named Joe Hill. Since Hill has clearly thrilled readers with his work, his father undoubtedly handed down some abilities. Author Joe Hill, whose books include Horns, 20th Century Ghosts, and The Fireman, is a New York Times bestseller. His stories, Numbers 4A2 and Lock and Key, have both been adapted for AMC and Netflix, and he has received the Bram Stoker Award. Number 8, Grady Hendrix. Grady Hendrix, author of New York Times bestsellers and a self-proclaimed Kingophile, has revealed that he has read all of King's novels at least once, which is an impressive accomplishment in and of itself. His novel, Horrorstör, which became a bestseller, brought him to the attention of horror fans all around the world. It's possible that his works, The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires and The Final Girl Support Group, may soon be adapted into shows that air on your television. This author, whatever else you think of him, definitely does like coming up with lengthy titles for his works. On January 17, 2023, his most recent book, How to Sell a Haunted House, is scheduled to be released in bookshops. In his newest book, he examines how your history and the people in it may come back to haunt you like nothing else can. Spooky. Number 7, Tananarive Due. Grady Hendrix, a New York Times best-selling novelist who calls himself a Kingophile, claims to have read every one of King's books at least once, which is an incredible accomplishment in and of itself. He gained worldwide recognition for his best-selling book, Horrorstör. His works, The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires and The Final Girl Support Group, could soon be featured on your television. Whatever you want to say about this writer, he definitely likes to use lengthy titles. How to Sell a Haunted House, his most recent book, will be released in bookshops on January 17, 2023. His most recent book examines how your family and your past may torment you more than anything else. Spooky. Number 6, Neil Gaiman. This well-known Brit is responsible for turning Coraline into a worldwide phenomenon in Nightmares for Kids. Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book served as the basis for his highly praised The Graveyard Book, for which he became the first writer to receive both the Newbery and Carnegie Awards. The Sandman, based on his comic books, is presently Netflix's most popular show. His writing is exceptional and diverse. Everyone is eagerly awaiting his next artistic creation. Hollywood has adapted several of his books, including Coraline, Good Omens, American Gods, Stardust, and The Sandman, which is a treat for his fans. Even in Treehouse of Horror XXVII, he voiced Snowball on The Simpsons. Separately, I wish to ask you to take part in All Hallows Read this year. Watch this PSA from the master himself, Neil Gaiman, who urges readers to share a terrifying book with someone else this Halloween. For a humorous explanation of All Hallows Read, go to www.allhallowsread.com. Number 5, Alma Katsu. Is there anything more terrifying than the Donner Party? With a splash of wickedness thrown in, Alma Katsu's The Hunger will leave you with nightmares for weeks. This Asian-American author from Alaska has written a number of terrifying stories, including the Faustian Taker trilogy, The Deep, and Red Widow. She was a finalist for the Bram Stoker Award for Outstanding Novel and the Locus Award for Best Horror Novel. Her new work, The Father, appears to be psychotically scary. Number 4, Joyce Carol Oates. This master of the trade released her first novel before Mr. King, and she is in a class by herself. Joyce Carol Oates is one of the most varied authors on the planet, having published 58 novels, hundreds of short stories, and innumerable poems. She has won the Bram Stoker Award and several other honors, and she has been a nominee for the Pulitzer Prize in Fiction 5 times. This woman never stops writing. Her work may currently be found in Ellery Queen's Mystery Magazine, The New Yorker, and other publications. Her works include Zombie, and We Were the Mulvaneys, to name a few. The Babysitter will be available in bookshops worldwide in October 2022, and it sounds fantastic. It sounds like a book I'd want to read. Number 3, Chuck Palahniuk. This writer from the Pacific Northwest has rocked me to my core with his work. True, I've suffered a long episode of sleeplessness as a result of reading his several publications. Chuck Palahniuk's cult masterpiece has had his writers on edge for years. His breakthrough novel, Fight Club, also adapted into a film directed by David Fincher and starring Brad Pitt, Edward Norton, and Helena Bonham Carter, catapulted him to literary prominence. Nonetheless, his many horror tales have left indelible marks on the hearts of readers. Known for his plot twists and turns, Palahniuk takes spectators to new heights. All of his writings, whether experimental, edgy, or thought-provoking, will be remembered as literary treasures. Adjustment Day, Lullaby, Haunted, Damned, and Invisible Monsters are just a handful of his spine-chilling tales. In addition to his books, he has written some of the scariest short tales of our time, including Guts, Cannibal, Zombie, and Phoenix. Guts has caused more readers to faint than any other short story in history, according to Palahniuk. This man has a legitimate claim to the horror crown. Number 2, Silvia Moreno Garcia. During the epidemic, this next author took the literary world by storm, giving readers even more reasons to be afraid. Silvia Moreno Garcia, who was born in Mexico, made the New York Times bestseller list with her Bram Stoker-nominated Mexican Gothic. Her previous novels, Velvet Was the Night and Gods of Jade and Shadow, have also received recognition. Both critics and readers have fallen in love with this young author. Her work, The Daughter of Dr. Moreau, a beautiful retelling of the island of Dr. Moreau set in 19th century Mexico, is must-read. That's fantastic. Number 1, Josh Malerman. Last but not least, this next author, New York Times best-selling novelist Josh Malerman, became a household celebrity as his adaptation shattered records and destroyed the internet with funny memes. Do you remember those? In 2018, Netflix's Bird Box broke viewership records with 45 million viewers. His works, Goblin, Bird Box, and Mallory, have given readers goosebumps. Daphne, his most recent work, will be released in September 2022. In a reinterpretation of the slasher genre, it is about a cruel, enigmatic lady who pursues a high school basketball team. It will frighten your sandals off. Thanks for watching.